Wisconsin ballot initiatives. Wisconsin voters do not have the right to place their own initiatives on the ballot to pass and repeal state laws and amend the Wisconsin Constitution on their own. I'm sorry. There's nothing funny about this. I can't even do it. Voters only have the power to ratify into the Wisconsin Constitution what the legislator puts before them through what's called a legislative referred constitutional amendment, aka state legislator initiative. The following initiatives took place in a special election this year on April 4th, 2023. Ooh, this one's, I do want to make sure I mention this one, and then we'll finish it tomorrow. Question 1, conditions of release before conviction amendment. A yes vote supported amending the state constitution to allow the state legislature to define what serious harm means in relation to the bail conditions that judges impose on accused persons persons released before their criminal trial for the purpose of protecting members of the community from serious harm. This measure was ratified by 66.55%. Who supported it? State Senator Van Wangard. All Republicans supported this. Also, the district attorney. Candidates that supported it, Daniel Kelly, who's apparently nonpartisan, and Janet Clare, who's also nonpartisan. That's interesting. And there was the Wisconsin Chiefs of Police Association. That's one of the unions that supported it. Americans for Prosperity, Wisconsin State Lodge Fraternal Order of the Police. So this is something that police obviously supported here. And then arguments. State Senator Van Wangard. First, it allows a judge to consider serious harm to others instead of serious bodily harm when setting conditions of release. This is an important change because serious bodily harm is a statutory defined term, essentially meaning harm that could cause death or serious permanent disfigurement. Who opposed it? State Representative Sue Conley, and some of the organizations that opposed it was the ACLU of Wisconsin. And one of their defenses were these measures were placed on the ballot by Republicans in the legislature after contentious political debate. They arise from the politicization of the Waukesha, that's an interesting name, Waukesha Christmas parade tragedy. Oh, yeah, I remember that. And they aim to change the criminal justice system so it is easier to keep people who have been arrested but not convicted of a crime behind bars as they await trial. That's important, guys. Arrested but not convicted. And this does happen, right? And if you don't have the money to pay for bail, you're kind of just sitting there, right? There was no campaign money spent to support or oppose it. Roger has a commentary here. As I've outlined and read, sometimes if you're confused about a measure, what you got to do is take a look at who supports it and who opposes it. Now, what this does not do and what we should be more focused on is the fact that this is a reform, but it's not a solution. The whole issue is law enforcement and rule of law advocates don't want dangerous people walking around the community before a trial date. While those who advocate for innocence until proven guilty say they've not been duly convicted, putting the accused in jail for prolonged periods of time without a trial simply but not having the dough is more of an economic injustice. Yet no one is coming up with ideas to enforce the Sixth Amendment, which says a right to a speedy trial with no delay. But even with that, I always push back and say, define speedy. What do they mean when they say a speedy trial? Is speedy like 2 months, 3 months, a year from now? We need to talk about that amendment one day, which says the right to a speedy trial with no delay. Where's the amendment to fully finance the public defender's office, as well as to get more judges, hiring more staff to provide them with resources necessary to move these cases along? Doing that ends this fight. That's a good point there, Roger. So we're going to go to question 2. Question 2, conditions for cash bail amendment. A yes vote supported amending the state constitution to authorize judges to consider the totality of the circumstances when imposing and setting cash bail for persons accused of violent crimes, including circumstances related to a previous conviction of a violent crime, the probability the accused will not appear in court, the need to protect the community from serious harm as defined by the state legislator, the need to prevent witness intimidation, and the potential affirmative defenses of the accused. This amendment was ratified by 67.57%. All right. It goes on to say, how is this question related to question 1? It says that question 1 removed the word bodily from serious bodily harm in the section that governs the condition a judge imposes on an accused person released before conviction. The amendment also allowed the state legislator to define serious harm. Question 2 amended the same section of the state constitution to allow judges to consider a previous conviction of a violent crime, the probability the accused will not appear in court, the need to protect the community from serious harm as defined by the state legislature, the need to prevent witness intimidation, and the potential affirmative defenses of the accused when setting cash bail. Who supported it? So this was supported by Republican senators and representatives, plus the district attorney, Michael Thurston, Wisconsin Chief of Police Association, organizations, Americans for Prosperity. Here's one of the arguments from Scott Allen. There are too many crimes occurring by too many individuals awaiting trial with a lengthy criminal record. We need to take away the shield from these soft on crime judges that are harming our communities. Soft on crime. Who opposed? State Representative Sue Connolly, and of course, organizations. One of them is the ACLU of Wisconsin. Looks like also the League of Women Voters. One of the arguments let's go to the one with the League of Women Voters. Increased pretrial detention and denial of bail will violate rights of those who are innocent until proven guilty. Increased costs for local jails, including rural areas, increase racial disparity in the justice system, and adversely impact people with low income. That is true. Remember, we talked about before with cash bail. I told you guys, a lot of people in jail is not that they're necessarily guilty. Some of those people are sitting there because they can't afford cash bail. So they're just sitting there. Now, campaign finance, there was no money spent to support or oppose. One of the things that Roger added was, same as before present, an amendment to enforce the Sixth Amendment, the right to a speedy trial with no delay. And the last one here is Wisconsin question 3, work requirement for welfare benefits advisory question. A yes vote supported advising the state legislature to require able-bodied childless adults to look for work in order to receive taxpayer-funded welfare benefits. This measure passed by 79.57%. So listen to this. The advisory question asked voters if able-bodied childless adults should be required to look for work in order to receive welfare benefits. The question was not legally binding and did not enact a work requirement for law for welfare benefits. At the time of the election, state law required able-bodied individuals without dependents to look for work in order to receive unemployment insurance. There was also a work requirement for Wisconsin's food stamp program, Wisconsin's food share, but the requirement had been waived since October 2020 due to the pandemic. Who supported it? Republican senators and representatives, organization, Foundation for Government Accountability. One of the reasons for support from Senator Chris Kapinga, we are confident the public supports this. We think this will put public pressure on the governor. Who opposed it? State Senator Melissa Agard, who's a Democrat. Organizations, Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Arguments, their resolution simply put attacks low-income people in the state of Wisconsin And it's born out of consideration to their base for the spring election. They're trying to gin up their voters, simply put. Well, there was over $480,000 spent to support this measure and no money spent to oppose it. And we know how this goes when it comes to the campaign finance money. Usually the one that has the most money wins, right? Okay. And that is Wisconsin.